Hello everyone and welcome to our Judson University webinar, Learning Online All Together, Your Online Support System. Thanks for joining us. My name is Katie and I am going to be moderating our webinar today. So to begin, let's start with our agenda. Sorry, just one moment while we push this forward. Perfect. So to begin with, what we'll do is introduce you to your dedicated support team here at Judson. After we do that, we'll talk through how these folks, as well as other key players at the Judson University, will help you with your education. And then after that, we'll spend a few minutes answering any questions you may have about our presentation or about Judson University. So before we get going, I'd like to point out that there is a Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. At any time, if you have a question, feel free to pop it in there and one of our panelists will answer it during the Q&A section. So without further ado, let me introduce you to our panelists. On this call, we have Tonya White, a senior enrollment coach based in our Rockford campus. We're also joined with Francisco Villa, a success coach, and Dr. Denise Purvis, who is the assistant professor of clinical mental health counseling at Judson University. Each of these panelists will explain their roles to you during this webinar, but more importantly, they're going to talk about how they can help you at Judson and how they can help you work toward not only your educational goals, but work toward graduating as well. So with that said, let's go ahead and turn the time over to Tonya, who will start by explaining to us what an enrollment coach does and how they can help you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Katie. So being an enrollment coach has got to be one of my favorite things to do. Honestly, I've been an enrollment coach for the last 10 years. I've been with Judson for the last 5, and I have the distinct privilege to be able to connect with adults who have made that decision. Something has happened in their life, or a switch has flipped in their head to where they've said, you know what, I need to go back to school. There is something lacking in my life, and an education can help change that. And so, but as adults, there are so many other things going on in our lives, and a lot of times going to school doesn't look like it did back when we graduated from high school. And so as a coach, not only do I get to hear their stories and about that educational history and just the different things that have brought them to why we were talking today, but I also get to help partner with them and to be able to walk alongside with them as they go through the enrollment process. I was thinking about it today, and earning your degree is definitely that. It's earning, right? You are in a marathon. This is not a sprint. And where do you start training for a marathon? You start with your coach. And you spend a lot of time with your coach at the beginning. And you're talking through any challenges, any things that may come up in the meantime, some things that, in a perfect world, this wouldn't be an issue, but we all know our world isn't necessarily perfect. I remember my enrollment coach when I first went back to school. I would call him up on a terrible day, and I'd be crying because I'm a crier. And he would say, so how's your day going? And I'm thinking, jerk, I'm on the phone and I'm crying. What do you mean how my day's going? And he reminded me, your days aren't going to change if you give up now. And that stuck with me for probably at least the last 15 years to be able to say, if you don't stick with this, nothing's going to change. And you're going to, not that my days aren't, not that I'm not going to have a bad day, but I know that this is something that I can have some grit and perseverance to be able to move through. So, so you're working with people who have been there, who understand. I'm not saying I know 100% of everybody's situation or I've heard it all, because that would be silly. But to know that you're not alone, and to know that I'm here from the very first conversation all the way through starting your program, including helping with admissions, as well as the financial readiness side of things. One of the great things about Judson is that it's a team. And as you are moving through that marathon, there are opportunities to be able to hand the baton off and have people in other areas of expertise. Katie, I think you might be able to go to the next slide there. Part of the Enrollment process is the financial readiness side of things. Probably the two biggest things I talk to with students are time and money. Know that you have a dedicated team of people. Joanne and Jennifer in student accounts, Vinny and Jessica in financial aid, who are there specifically for the adults at Judson to be able to help them through that process. You're going to be known by name and by situation, and they are available to be able to talk through any of the questions that you have. There's a lot of general stuff that I can help with, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I know everything or that I can see everything. And even as you get started, it doesn't mean that I go away. It means that as that central coach, as that hub of resources, your questions come up and I send you to whoever the best person is to be able to help you next. So definitely something where going back to school and earning your degree, there is enough challenge in that in itself. The rest of those details don't have to be. And we have people here at Judson to be able to help you with that. And one of those people, I'm going to hand the baton over to Frank. He is one of my favorite people who does an amazing job with his students.
Thank you, Tonya. I appreciate that. Yes, my name is Frank Villa. I am a success coach here at Judson University, and I want to cover a couple slides and give you some great information. First would be, what is a success coach and what do we do? I'm going to be your go-to person. I'm going to support you and offer guidance the entire way, the entire degree program, from the moment you start your first class all the way to graduation. We'll be going through classes that you're going to be doing, materials, books that are required, get you prepared to get you into every class and progress. We'll be providing unique resources to enhance your overall student experience. I believe one of the most important roles as a success coach is to build an organic relationship with my students. That way I can uncover the drive, the passion, and motivation, not just for their professional goals, but also their personal goals as well. And I understand goals can change. Change of hearts can change as far as even changing your degree program. All these things we'll be discussing diligently, weekly, and we'll have a game plan throughout every single course. Now, this educational journey will have its challenges. It will have its ups. It will have its downs, just like life does, and especially during these unprecedented times in 2020. But rest assured, we will be with you every step of the way. Like Tonya mentioned, we have a great network of team, your coaches, success coach, academic advisor, which I'll touch on in a moment, and other members to help you along the way, all the way to graduation. Now, just to touch on a little bit about my experience and what makes us unique in order to help our students out. I've been with higher ed for the last 14 years. I'm a huge advocate of education. Education has definitely opened up a lot of doors and opportunities for me. I love sharing and also being part of a success story. Now, the Judson team is very unique because the student experience is the cornerstone of our mission. Now, we've been in the trenches. We've been and overcame obstacles to get to graduation. Now, every day we call our students and help our students out to get closer to graduation. We use our expertise, we use our experience, and we use our passion. Now, I'm happy to report I'm blessed and honored to work alongside great counterparts and colleagues in leadership here at Judson University because we put our students first. That is our priority. Now, I didn't have nearly the support that Judson offers when I went to college, and I can assure you a good support team makes a world of difference. Now, more than one occasion, several students have expressed to me the level of support and how awesome that is, how encouraging that is. And that's one of the main reasons they come here, and they see it from the very beginning. Again, touching base with what Tonya mentioned, she gets you from the very beginning. You have a lot of hands on deck. Now, you're not alone in this process because starting school, although it's very exciting, can be a bit intimidating. But you're not alone, like I mentioned, and we'll help you every step of the way. And it's all about progressing, getting one step closer, and just seeing you evolve as a student. Now, if you don't mind, a few more extra seconds to share a quick story of mine. I had a student about 6 months ago wanting to start a program, and did start a program. She was very excited. She was also nervous at the same time. This was her first educational and college experience. She had a family young, and she put her educational goals on hold. And I get it. Her kids grew up, and when I had a chance to talk to her initially, one statement that she made really stood out, resonated with me. And I put it in quotes. "It's my time now, Frank." And that's something that's powerful to me. And I wrote it down on her file. I bring it up as often as I can. And she was right. This was something that she had been wanting to do for quite some time. Now, I've always told her, like I tell my students and myself, there's never a perfect time to begin school or any project for sometimes that matter. So we just got to dive in. As long as you know that you have an end goal in mind, we will help you get there. Now, it was a little rocky at first, right? It was a first experience. The first class into the second course, there was some obstacles we had to go through, but that's part of the process. You can't grow without being challenged. So with her grit and determination, we started seeing some real progress. I was diligently talking to her on a weekly matter. We had a game plan, going over resources, going over certain things that she thought she might have needed additional help with. Now she's well off. She's 6 months in, several classes under her belt. She has a GPA above a 3.0. We still talk frequently. It's one of those small stories, right? And they go on and on and on. But that one I wanted to point out, that just recently happened. And it's just being excited, even though you're nervous, you know this is a positive thing for you. So as a success coach, I love being part of that, part of being your story. I tell my students, this is your story to tell. Own it. This is your education. This is going to leave your legacy, right? When it comes down to it. And it helps motivate other people. Now, we'll go into the next slide, which would be the academic advisor role. The academic advisor role is, they actually are super helpful, super resourceful. They actually built out a roadmap for your graduation. Now, we understand navigating eLearn, or our course system here at Judson, can be a little overwhelming, and you're going to need a little practice to help you navigate and get yourself acclimated with it. And that's where the academic advisor comes in. They will personalize and tailor-made your schedule for you. Now, you will have a sit down with your academic advisor. And this is where I encourage my students to ask away. I'm talking classes, graduation, dates, all that fun stuff. Not to mention transfer credits. We have quite a bit of students with transfer credits from other colleges or institutions. And in my opinion, Judson is pretty generous when it comes down to transfer credits. Who doesn't want to graduate earlier, right? So you'll have a sit down, we'll personalize your schedule for you. You'll get it early in the beginning, your initial stages. You'll be able to see it, print it, have it on your computer, so you can be aware of your academic progress. And once again, going back to the success coach, being able to know what's coming up next, being able to provide, hey, this is the books you need, this is the materials you need, we got to plan accordingly. If it's a vacation, if it's anything that might come up, we can then plan ahead. We can be ahead of the curve, per se, right? Because challenges arise. Sometimes we can avoid them. Sometimes we got to take them head on, and that's fine. That's why your support team's here to help out with that. Now, one of the best news I can offer a student is, hey, you're going to graduate sooner. Academic advisors, as well as a success coach, we work together as a cohesive unit to explore all options to help you graduate or speed up your graduation, right? Besides transfer credits, there's other elements as far as proficiency exams, such as CLEP or PLA. Now, all those things are great, right? If one doesn't want to take them, we already have a built out plan for you. Now, as far as a detailed schedule, I think it's a great tool to have. That way we can plan accordingly. Now, your academic advisor is always there to take on calls and emails if whatever situation or question concerns you might have about your schedule. If it is going to be a retake, if we do got to maybe switch things around, if it's a specific math class per se that, is better to take at a different time of the year just because, you might have more time and acclimate yourself with it, please let us know. We'll sit down together, we'll brainstorm together, and we'll get the best options for you on the table. So academic advisors are extremely helpful. And once again, we all have a common goal, which is graduation. That is a common goal to help you progress and proceed. We all have individual responsibilities as well, coming from the schedule standpoint. So definitely hold on to all that information as far as your success coach contact info, your enrollment, of course, your finance, of course, and your academic advisor. Now, to touch base on the third slide, which would be your career development. This is awesome. I try to bring this up as soon as I can. There's no specific time where you have to do it, of course, but this is something that you will accelerate your success through career preparation. Now, it's always good to sharpen up your tools and have an updated resume, right? That's always great to have. Now, this is a free service for all of our Judson students, alumni, right? Now, at Judson, when you're in class, you will have relevant skills that you will apply to your career immediately. However, this specific career development helps you put your education into use. Now, like I mentioned, it is free, and we also have a career development coach. Her name is Rachel Hammond. Now, she's awesome. She'll help you kind of brainstorm, right? We're doing more of the academic stuff, passing your classes. This is more preparing yourself to catapult you to your career, that job market. Now, just to mention a few things inside the career development, there is job searching. You can also do interview assistance, which is super cool. I don't know about you guys, sometimes for interview, I can prepare myself the best I can, but there's always a little nervousness. It doesn't hurt to kind of have an extra pair of eyes just to kind of give you motivation and encouragement. Resume and cover letter building is also there for you. Like I mentioned, it's always good to tweak your resume to be as current as you can. Now, you can also find jobs, internships, if you need it for your specific degree program. Now, Glassdoor has a built-in in there. This is a fantastic way to stay connected, to network with your alumni, your cohorts. And one thing I've noticed that I've been using for quite some time, it's also built into the career development page, is ONET Online. It's fantastic. It's one of those things where you can look up jobs, find the description, salaries, skills. You know, is that job going to be hot? Is it moving? You know, is there going to be more positions going to be opening up in the near future? All those things to stay relevant, to stay ahead of the curve, can only help you out. This is the best way to market yourself, the best way to discover your strengths. Now, I try to introduce it as early as I can as you move into your program, right? That may not be one of your main focuses, is more so of passing your courses. And as you get near the end, as I notice as a trend, we start bringing this more into the light. Now, I do try to bring it up as often as I can because there's a lot to it. And I try to make specific meetings with my students to kind of be like, here, I want to introduce you to what we have to offer, you know, dive in slowly so you can know what's available. And that way you can go back and retrack and go to those resources. Now, one thing I came across yesterday, which I thought was pretty cool, and I want to share this fun fact. It was kind of surprising to me, but I can see how it can happen. I read that a lot of employers actually only read your resume for like 6 to 7 seconds. That's crazy, right? Only a handful of seconds. So we have to find a way to stand out. And that's what I'm going to be now implementing in my conversation with my students. Be like, hey, we want to stand out. We want to market yourself. Let's take advantage of the career development. It's a great, great program and a great resource. And that's all I have for those slides.
Yeah, we're off to me. I'm Denise Purvis, and I am one of the full-time clinical mental health faculty here for our master's program. And where the telehealth piece comes in for you as a student, as through the end of July, in order to just really support our students through the pandemic, through how difficult it is being a student, getting coursework completed and so forth, is we are offering telehealth counseling. So it offers you an opportunity to just get confidential support, tips, ideas, access to resources. And so one of the reasons we really rallied behind this, Judson really truly wants to live to our mission and support you. And through telehealth counseling, that's an option to do that. And so another layer is Judson also offers you as much opportunity as students as possible. So for example, our master's level counseling students are the clinicians that are taking calls. And so they're offered opportunity to continue to learn, support their education for their practicum and internship courses. So our role is to support you and your emotional welfare, and also we very actively find opportunities for our students to serve in the community, which also builds to your resume. And so things like that, your advisors can also help you and direct you to how can you be of service potentially through a program
that Judson is already offering and helping to serve your fellow students, and just really trying to have well-rounded students and making sure that we're also meeting your emotional needs, any possible mental health needs, because I would say for any of us, myself included, you know, things can be stressful, anxiety provoking, and so we just want to make sure that we take care of the whole package for you as a student as you go through our program. And so at any point that you're looking for services like that, you can check the Wellness Center page and find links, phone numbers, resources there, and also connect with your advisors as well at any point to ask questions about the program.
Great, thank you so much, Frank, Tonya, and Dr. Purvis, for sharing your experiences. We can tell that you're really passionate about helping our students. And at this point, we're going to open the floor to any questions. Again, there should be a Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. So feel free to submit a question or two there, and we'll do our best to address them right now. But it looks like we already have a couple of questions rolling in. So this first one, I'm going to hand over to Tonya. This question is, can I take classes on campus right now, or do I have to do online? And if I can take classes online, do I get all of these perks that we've discussed?
Excellent question. So Judson is definitely committed to our student safety and our staff instructor safety. That's our #1 priority. We want to make sure that we are being smart and taking care of our people, but we also know the benefit of being in class and having that sort of learning environment as well. So we are in the process of piloting a couple of classes. I believe Dr. Purvis is actually piloting one in Elgin, and we have a master's group in Rockford. So we can work out the opportunities and the details when it comes to being able to meet face-to-face and maintain the distance that's needed, making sure that the different procedures make sense and that we can follow them, and so we can help to control what's going on with those sorts of things. So our plan is, with the fall term coming up, that we would be able to transition back into more of a face-to-face opportunity. But I'll tell you, in my experience not that I've experienced anything like this ever in my time in higher ed, but I have seen the community at Judson rise to the occasion of taking care of our students and making sure, even if we weren't if we were supposed to be meeting face-to-face on a campus, still having those opportunities to be able to have Zoom calls or different types of opportunities to still see each other and still be able to get more of a face-to-face opportunity instead of just feeling alone in an online environment. So all of these opportunities and benefits are available to any of our students, regardless of how you choose to take your classes. And we are taking the extra steps to make sure that when there's times when we can't be 100% face-to-face, that we are still meeting the needs of the students and that we are doing our best to accommodate however we can and the best options that we can to make it happen.
Great, thank you, Tonya. This next question I'm going to direct to Frank, since Frank talked about it at first, and that question is, if I am registered as a student, do I have to wait until I'm close to graduation before I can use the help at the career services, with the career services team?
Oh, great question. That's one thing I'm implementing more on our conversations in the very beginning, and kind of those temperature checks as we move through their program. No, you don't have to wait until graduation or the last semester to use them. I encourage you to use them as early as you can. When I have a welcome call, or we're in the first class or two, when we're actually diving into the eLearn or the learning platform here at Judson, I show them the resources that are on hand. And that can be a variety of different things. I let them know these are where things are at, but as we move into your weekly and my due diligence calls, will be specifically picking them out depending on what you need, on your strengths and weaknesses. If it's going to be anywhere from AP formatting to finding your books. But what I tell them is this is where your resources will be at, and I introduce them to the career development page. And I tell them there's going to be a lot up front because we have tons of resources. This is very, very good. There's a lot of things to do, a lot of things to click, a lot of things to read. But what I like to do is kind of do it in smaller sections, so it's easier to digest. Easier to digest. But yes, I encourage using the career development page frequently and as early as possible. And I try to implement like a small exercise, right? Granted, if they have the time and we make specific meetings so we can cover that specific agenda, I'll try to have that as one of the meetings I create for the students. A quick 10 or 15 minutes, if they allow it to be, we can cover them. And that way they're aware of where they are and what resources are available, and then we can always go back and retouch on them. And it depends on their needs, right? They may come back and they will tell me, hey Frank, I'm actually going for a promotion or looking for a different job, and it comes out naturally. Okay, how's your resume? How's your cover letter? Have you done that? When's the last time you had an interview? Maybe you want to sharpen up those tools. So I always direct them back to that, and just being that go-to person to always encourage to use those resources.
Great, thank you. Now I have a question from Amanda, but Frank, I'll also let you get this one since you're doing such a good job. And that is for the e-learning aspect, is there any special software that you need to have to get started?
Great question. That's one thing I've always brought up in the very initial conversation in the welcome call. Since right now, due to the COVID, we're doing online, right? And we're probably going to slowly transition into, more of a face-to-face element later on in the future. I do tell them, obviously, internet, right? And a dependable computer is going to be something that's vital for your success. But when you enter the program, Microsoft Office, we do need that, right? And the awesome thing is, if they have it, fantastic. I come across some students that say, hey, I don't have it, but hey, no need to be alarmed. We actually, Judson's awesome, once again, inside which they will have a student email address, they have a built-in student office version, which have these applications for them already. So yes, I do tell them this is going to be, your bread and butter is going to be Word. Really, there's going to be an occasional PowerPoint, so you'll need that as well, and a PDF, Adobe, to read some of your readings. So that's going to be your three main focuses that they're going to use mostly. But at the end of the day, I would say a good 90% of it would be Word and doing these research papers. But if they have it, fantastic. If not, the plan B is always set in place, which we have inside built in for them in their student email address.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And I think we have time for one more question, and this one is from Deborah. Tonya, can you tell us if there are Zoom classes?
Great question. So Zoom is a part of and one of the resources that instructors are able to use. However, it is going to be a little bit more of instructor preference because there are a number of resources that are available for instructors to be able to be connecting with their students. So it's something that's communicated at the beginning of each class, and how, especially if it's a course that was intended or designed to be more face-to-face and has been moved to online for whatever reason, the instructor will communicate what sort of technology or opportunities they're going to be using to still connect with their students as they are moving through and guiding students through their class. So would I say that there's going to be a specific class that would be 100% online and they're going to meet on certain days for 4 hours? No, because as an online student, that's truly one of the benefits. You get 24/7 access. It's what the fancy word is asynchronous, right? You do your work when you are available to do it. And there isn't typically a time that an instructor is going to say you have to be logged in at this certain time to complete an activity, because again, that's one of the benefits of it being an online program. So again, there's opportunities to be able to help and connect with your instructor. It's going to be instructor preference, and they're going to work with you along the way to be able to guide you in that.
Great. Thank you so much for that answer, Tonya. I think that's about the time that we have today. So Again, thank you to everybody who has joined. Thank you, Kim, Frank, and Dr. Purvis for lending us your expertise. Just a reminder for all of the attendees on the call is that our next classes at Judson start as soon as August 26th. So if you have questions about starting at Judson, if you've submitted an application but you need a little bit of help, or even if you are a current student who needs some help, give our coaches a call at 888-427-5817, and they can kind of help you work through any issues that might arise. And then the last kind of reminder that we have for you today is that we will be hosting another webinar next Wednesday at the same time, 5:30 Central Standard Time. This one will be hosted by Rachel Hammond, who Frank introduced earlier in this call. She's the Director of Career Services here at Judson, and she's going to be talking to us about resume tips, and 3 resume tips specifically to help you land your next job. So look for the email inviting you to that one, and we hope to see you next week. And thanks again for coming.